Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you some interesting accessories that you can get for your router. Mainly, I've got this really cool router plate and a planer that you can use to, for example, straighten up your wooden cookies or any other boards that need a bit of attention. So, check out the video and find out if these products are any good. Now, both of these tools, they are from Enjoywood, so it's a fairly well-known make on Banggood and usually quite a decent quality. So as you can see, everything's nicely packed in this little box here. That's our router base. You should be able to attach more or less every router to this plate, thanks to the very interesting design. Now over here, that's the bottom part, okay? So you do have a piece of acrylic at the base. So thanks to that, it will go smoothly on any material. Over here, that's aluminium, quite thick and rigid, and the whole thing is actually quite heavy, which is good as it will be more stable in my opinion. So first of all, well, let's install the handle. We do have a washer just over here, it's a plastic one, and we're just gonna screw that on. Now here is a little bit inconvenient part of this jig. To actually install our router base, okay, onto this, we need to take the plate off. It's not a major hassle. You do have 5 screws to undo, and you just need to take off that acrylic plate. Just like so. And now we've got access to the screws that we can attach to our router base. Now, when you're going to be installing this base, I would recommend you do use a pin with a cone to make sure the base that you're going to attach to the jig itself sits right in the dead center. Now, my router from Trent actually came with this. However, if you don't have one, you can fairly easily make something similar. It just makes everything a lot easier, and you're going to make sure that your router bit will be in center of the opening on the jig itself. Now just be careful, this could be a little bit tricky to do as these just lift off like that. So don't be tempted to turn it around as you may lose your screws. Fortunately for me, actually the screws that come with the jig do fit the base of my router, so that's a bonus. However, as you can see, the opening here is actually fairly large, so if these screws will not be fitting your router, then you more than likely will be able to use the ones that come with your router. And as you can see, you can shift it, move it around to make sure it's in the correct position. But as I said, I'm going to use the cone to center everything out. So now I'm just going to hold this, make sure it's in the right place that I want it to be. And I'm going to fully do up the screws. And now finally we can install the acrylic plate back on. And as you can see, our plate is fully installed. Let's talk about the size over here. So lengthwise, we've got 24.5 centimeters, wide is almost 16 centimeters. I think it's about 15.8. Now the hole over here, let's check that out. We've got 31 millimeters. So the opening here is definitely not the largest, so you will have to figure out if you want to have a larger bit, if your router will actually allow you to install that. For me, I would just have to take off the cover and put the router bit from the top if, for example, I want a larger bit to level out a slab or anything like that. Now let's install a router bit. I've got this nice profile bit over here, and we'll see how easy it is to operate my router with this handy dandy router plate. Well, I have to say, it's a really nice and solid router plate. Loads of control with the handle and this massive surface that you can rest on your workpiece. Absolutely brilliant. However, I can foresee one issue with this whole setup, and it's actually the acrylic plate. Yes, it does give you beautiful and smooth motion, but what usually tends to happen to acrylic, it's that it scratches. Okay, the more you use it, I'm guessing the more scratches you're gonna have on it, and in the end it's probably not gonna affect the usability of this plate. However, it won't look as nice as brand new, but time will tell how everything will perform and if that actually will become an issue. So make sure to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss my future updates if anything goes wrong with it. So far, I'm actually super happy with it. It's really nice, solid, and I don't think I'm going to be taking it off from my router going forward. Now it's time for the second box, and that's the planer that you can use with conjunction with this router plate. So let's put it together and let's see if it's any good. Again, the packaging is really nice. You do get a manual, so we're gonna go through the steps of putting this together. Look at that. Again, it's in this lovely red color. So let me take everything out and we'll start putting this together. And there you go. That's all the parts that we've got for this project. Everything, it seems to be very nice quality. You know, the marks on these plates are very nice and visible. You've got 3 different heights you can use: 23 millimeters, 43 and 63 as well. And you've got the scale in the middle. Okay, so that's pretty nice. On top of it, at the bottom, you've got this rubber type of a foot over here that hopefully will prevent it from skidding around as you work with it. Although, to my understanding, you actually have to move it along as you work it. First of all, we need to install these type of brackets, like so, and you do get left and right version of this. So pretty easy to do, as it is based on T-slots. So you just marry them up, like so. Do it up, but don't do it too tightly yet. Same thing on the other side. Now we need to flip this over, upside down, and we're going to install these type of brackets, one on each side. As you slide these in, just do them up ever so slightly so they don't fall out, but don't tighten them up yet. And now we can offer the sides, and for now, I'm just going to install this in the top position. At the moment, just put them in slightly, don't tighten them yet, as we need to make sure everything's nice and square here. Now this base, this planer, will accommodate different sizes of routers, so you actually don't need to have this plate, okay? As if you've got a wider plate, as you can see here, you can accommodate the distance between these profiles. So if you've got a smaller router plate, you can just shift them towards the inside, and then your router will be riding along those profiles. Obviously on the other side, I'll show you that in a second. But for now, I'm just gonna put these more or less probably just to the max. So make sure these brackets are right to the edge, and then tighten these bolts up. The next thing we need to add is this positioning rod. As you can see, it does have a notch right in the middle, and we're going to use the pin in a second to make sure this is in the right place, as that will guide our router so it is in the right place as well. So let's just install that in these side brackets, and for now just do it up slightly. Don't tighten that up yet. And now we can use this pin. Okay, you do have holes for it on both sides, so depending on which way you're going to be working, you can place it either side, just like that. And now that notch there needs to marry up with the pin. So I'm just going to take it against it. There we go, nice and firm. And now with holding the rod against the pin, I'm just going to secure it in place so it doesn't move on us. This does have actually two jobs. So first of all, as I said, it will make sure our router is right in the middle, but also it will ride along the material we're gonna be flattening, for example, or routing out. Now we can set up our planer to accommodate our base, right? So make sure these knobs are done up and you can move this freely. As you can see, it will move quite a long way, but again, it all depends where you put the pins. You can move the pins a little bit further along, so it will accommodate any type of a base. For me, this is absolutely fine. And basically what this will do, this will create a straight path for our router. Now, I'm actually going to use this in my router as a pin, although this is actually smaller than 1/4 of an inch, but for this purpose I think it will be absolutely fine. I'm just gonna push it against that notch in that rod that we just did. I'm gonna put these panels right up against our plate, just like so, and I'm just gonna do them up. Now move this along as well, right to the back, as we need to make sure that there's free movement along the whole length of our jig. And just lock everything up in place. Okay. I'm going to take the pin out. And just make sure you've got a nice and clean movement along the path. And there you go. Our planer, our jig is fully assembled and it's set up to our plate as well. No issues at all. Everything fits in really lovely. The quality here is really, really nice. There's no two doubts about it. Everything is machined very, very well to a high standard, so you shouldn't have any issues with that. However, let's talk about the specs a little bit over here. So the maximum height, as I said, you've got 63 millimeters, then 43 and 23. If you want to plane items, boards that are thicker than this, what you will have to do is to put it on some sort of a razor, so the planer will be actually a little bit higher. So from that perspective, not an issue. However, the problem comes when we are talking about the width of the board. Now the maximum over here at the top is 58.5 centimeters. However, the feet over here will reduce the amount of timber you can have underneath it, and in this case actually the max is just under 55 centimeters. Plus, when we add the router with this type of a plate on, when you get to the edge, well, we are stealing around 7 centimeters from the edge, so the total width will be even smaller. So all depends on what type of work you will be doing. If you've got massive wide boards, then this will be not for you. Okay, so let's test this out and see how it performs. Now I do have this lovely cookie. It's absolutely super uneven. So the first thing we need to do is to secure it in place so it doesn't move, doesn't wobble on us. And on top of it, you need some sort of a very flat and even base so our jig can ride on top of it. And for me, I just picked up this 12mm MDF board. Now in the whole set, you do get these type of clamps. So how they work, you put them against the piece of timber and screw them down. However, the first thing I need to do is to remove the wobble from my cookie. And for that, I'm going to be using some shims, and initially I'm going to hold this with a bit of hot glue. There we go, just 2 shims, that was enough to remove the wobble. And now I'm just going to add a couple of dabs of the hot glue to initially hold it in place. I'm going to leave the hot glue to set for a few seconds and I'll install these clamps. Okay, with the clamps installed, make sure everything is nice and stable, it doesn't move on you. That's super, super important, that this cookie, this piece of timber will not shift or move as you're operating your router on top of it. That's the bit I'm going to be using in my router to get my cookie flat. It's 25 millimeters, so it should do us a good job. Right, now I'm going to place my router with the plate on the jig itself, and as I said, that's my highest point there. Each pass you do want to remove as little as possible, okay? Don't try to remove massive amounts of timber, as that's just not going to work and it's not safe. And check this out, layer by layer, we are removing some stock from the cookie, making it nice and flat. And there you go, nice, true, and beautifully flat. Okay, no issues at all. Now, as you've seen, this method, well, it does have its limitation, okay? More or less the size of this, that will dictate what type of size of board or cookie it can actually tackle, and it's not going to be a massive one. On top of it, it's actually quite awkward to start off, as you really have to move the jig to the left or to the right, obviously, depending on which direction you're routing, plus you need to move the plate itself. Now, moving the plate in those rulers is absolutely fine, and you do have the handle on that plate, which this particular case makes it quite easy. However, you really need to hold on to the planer jig itself. And actually, that's one of the things I really don't like about it. If, for example, there was some sort of a handle to the planer part, then it would make a lot more sense. It would be a lot more stable. Now, you can think to yourself, well, just clamp down the planer and it won't move on you. Well, that's true. However, you have to move it. You have to move it to the left or to the right to make the next pass. Now, I don't have any issues with the build quality. Everything comes together. Everything is quite easy to put together, to change the layout, to change the size, width, the height of it as well. Everything's quite simple to do. So there you go. Interesting option. It all depends on you if you need something like this or not. However, the plate itself is absolutely fantastic. I like the quality, ease of use, and it's just great. I really like the plate itself. With this, it all depends if you really need something like this, and probably you could make something similar yourself with few pieces of aluminium extrusion and maybe some plywood as well. But hey, links to both of these products will be down below in the description of this video. I do have some discount codes as well. Depending on where you live, the price will be different, not down to me. That's how Banggood works. So check it out. Have a look. Now at this point, I just want to say a massive thank you to my Patreons for the ongoing support, and don't go just yet. I've got a couple of playlists over here. Check them out and maybe you'll find your next video to watch. For today, that's all. Thank you very much. Take care.